But this is not something that's brand new. Okay? Because y'all learned this last year. But it's kind of like with the equations, we're refreshing our memory so that we can go to two-step tomorrow. Okay? What is the difference between an inequality and an equation? Equation has an equal sign. You can have several answers with inequalities. Okay, so an inequality is not equal. Here is just a refresher for you to look at if we're having trouble understanding what our signs mean, but there's one or two other things that I want y'all to write. So when we graph, and we saw a question like this the other day on when we were looking over benchmarks. If I have an open circle, so if my circle is like this on my graph, which signs does that represent? Because I have closed circles and open circles. It's just shaded in. So on the graph, like if I'm trying to graph my solution, one's open and one's closed. Do y'all remember which one represents what? Really? Okay. Yes, she did, because the last class all knew what it meant. Okay. Open circles is less than or greater than. So that means closed circles, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And that's very, very important, because if I have an open circle and my solution was y is greater than 5, that's telling me any number greater than 5 can be a solution, but 5 can't. If I had a closed circle and it was y is greater than or equal to 5, that means 5 can be a solution as well as any number greater than. Make sure y'all keep y'all's hands, everything off that wall back there. Okay, so you still essentially solve it the same way. So if I ignored that this said greater than, how would I solve this for y? What's 7 minus 3? 4. Except it's not equals. What is it? Greater than. That means for this inequality to be true, y has to be a number greater than 4. That could be 4.01. It could be 4.0001. Anything greater than 4. All right, so on our number line, if it doesn't give you numbers, you can number it however you want to. I suggest putting that number in the middle. All right, I'm not going to make you fill up that whole number line. Just do 2 numbers. So I have 4, 5, and 6, 3, and 2. Okay, my circle's going to go on the 4. Is it going to be open or closed? Open. All right, do y'all know which direction I would shade the line? To the right. This is saying y is greater than 4. So all my numbers greater than 4, I would shade. So like if I saw this, okay, so if I saw this, I know that that should be an open symbol, right? So that should be, this has to be, the solution to this inequality would have to be greater than 4. All right? So here, same thing. I solve it exactly the same way. It's subtracting 9, so I do what? I add 9. What is 9 plus 5? All right, so if this is y is greater than 4, this is what? C is less than 14. Again, I can put my number right in the middle. My circle is open. Which direction am I shading? Left, because all my numbers less than 14. Are these numbers less than 14? Yes.
So if it's like a greater than or less than or equal to, it would be a closed circle.
Mm-hmm. So like, look at number 8. All right. Number 8. It says x minus 3 is greater than or equal to negative 6. So what is my first step to solving? Plus 3. So I have a negative 6 plus 3.
That'd be a negative 3.
Be a negative 3. So x is greater than or equal to negative 3. All right, I'm going to put my negative 3. Now, here's what's tricky. You remember with negatives, we pretty much have to think opposite. right? So negative 2 would be greater than negative 3. So negative 2 would come here, negative 1. All right, so that means my numbers that get smaller really look bigger, but they're negative, so it's not. What kind of circle? Closed. All right, so it's saying that it's greater than or equal to negative 3. No, that just means you have a closed circle, because that means negative 3 could be your solution. But so are the numbers greater than negative 3. Well, what numbers are greater than negative 3? Negative 2 and negative 1. So here's another trick, and I debate on teaching it this way every year. But if you look at this like an arrow, it's pointing this way, right? Did I shade that way? Okay, this is pointing that way. Did I shade that way? What about this one? Yes. The only reason I debate teaching that is because if you look right here, where is my letter? Where's my variable?
On the top.
It's on a different side though, right? Okay, let's solve that one real fast. So I have r divided by 7 is greater than 8. No. Remember, that's dividing. So the opposite of division is multiplying. All right. What is 7 times 8? 56. So 56 is less than r. Okay, if you ever have the variable on the opposite side, you either have to read it backwards or you can flip it. But here's the thing when you flip it. What side is facing the r right there? Look right here. Is it the open or closed side? Open. So the open side, when I flip it, still has to be facing it. It's pointing at the 56, so it still has to point at the 56. Because somebody was like, well, why couldn't I just flip the letter and the number and leave it like that? Because if I did, let's just say I left my sign the same and I just put the R in the 56, is that still the same thing? It's opposite. So you can't do that. So if you flip it to where you get your variable on the left, it helps. Okay, because now it makes it easier to graph, right? Okay. Put your 56 in the middle. So I have 56. What kind of circle? Or, yeah, circle. All right, open. There's no equal line underneath it. So it's a positive, so we would normal it regularly. All right, which direction is it going? Actually, I have a copy made. Okay, it's going right. I have a lot. No, I made like 10 because I knew we're going to have several absent kids. All right. This one, this is another tricky one. We're going to change it to a negative. So we're going to have negative 5p is greater than or equal to 25. In the middle right here, you're going to make a note. All right, and it's very important because this is the trickiest part to inequalities. All right, so you're going to put when dividing. I'm capitalizing dividing because it's very important because it's only division. So when dividing by a negative, you have to flip the sign. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're multiplying by a negative, if you're adding or subtracting a negative, it is only when you divide. I'm going to give you a minute to write that and then I'll show you what that means. Only when dividing. Okay, So right here, if this is a -5, I would have to divide to solve, right? Okay, so I would divide by negative, divide by negative. What is 25 divided by -5? -5. All right, so I have P and I have -5. My sign, I have to flip. All right, you have to flip it. I'll explain why. I hope it doesn't confuse you, but I'll explain why. Ooh, I numbered it wrong. Haha. See? Because it's negative. Goodness, that's real bad. All right, so -6, -7, -4, -3. Okay. What kind of circle would I have to graph? Closed. Which direction? Right. Remember, if my variable is on the left, it's pointing the direction that I need to shade. Okay, so the reason for this. All right, let me find all over my paper. So if I put -5 times -5, what does that give me? A positive 25. So is a positive 25 greater than or equal to 25? Yes. Okay. If I put -5 times -4, what is -5 times a -4? A positive 20. Is 20 greater than or equal to 25? No. So if I would have kept my sign the same and said it had to be greater than or equal to, all right, that would mean, well, do y'all agree that -4 is greater than -5? So that wouldn't be true anymore. All right, so when I flipped it and said P has to be less than or equal to -5, well, what's less than -5? -6. So if I plug that in, -5 times a -6, what does that give me? Is 30 greater than or equal to 25? Yes, so that's the only way to keep the inequality true with negatives. It's kind of like we have to reverse our thinking with negatives, right? Yes, so we have to reverse the sign. All right? Okay. How do I solve? Divide. Divide. What is 27 divided by 9? 3. All right, so I have 3, 4, 5, 2, and 1. What kind of circle?
Open.
Open. Which direction? Where's it pointing? Left. Okay, what about this one? What do I do, guys? Okay, it's adding 3s, so the opposite is to subtract 3. 7. Okay, it's going to go left because x has to be less than 7. 5 and 6 are less than 7. What kind of circle?
Open.
Open. All right, I want you to do 7, 9, and 10 by yourself. 7, 9, and 10, the 3 on the front that we haven't done. She does it every morning. So Amanda has to sit there and keep, yeah. It's in the afternoons, it's not an issue.
Number 7 would, would positive 7 be greater than K or would K be
correcto. Y luego es positivo,
Hold on. What was that, babe?
¿verdad?
On number 7, would positive 7 be on the left side, or would K be on the left side of this?
But you can also put them.
Aquí vamos a poner entonces.
But
It doesn't think.
your answer, I think you added them. What do you do to those two numbers?
Más grande,
Yes.
so va así. Ok, ¿para qué? ¿Qué vamos a hacer? No, porque eso es más. ¿Cómo se dice? Agregado, ¿cómo? Agregar. So, menos 7, ¿verdad? Menos 7 y luego menos 7 aquí. Ahora Y igual, que es 7 menos 26. 21, positivo o negativo. No, positivo. Ok, aquí está el medio. Aquí va 26, 27, 28, 25, 24. Es igual. Teníamos un igual. So, yo creo que esto no más va a quedar aquí. Ok, por aquí.
Give me a thumbs up if you're ready for me to go over it.
¿Cómo que hacemos?
Okay.
No, si es negativo, si es menos, ¿qué hacemos? ¿Verdad? Ok, ahora C menos o igual a, ok, 13, 14, 15, 12, 11, ok, menos o igual. So, ¿cómo se llama? El menos va para acá, ¿verdad? Ok, a ver si lo entiende. Enseñale a Llorel.
Okay, on number 7, how do I solve that? Multiply. Remember, when it's dividing and it looks like a fraction, just think of cross multiplication. So I multiply. -4 times -3 is 12. So I have K and 12. Now, can I flip that to make that easier on me? Yes. So it should be K is less than 12. Okay? So that is always there. 12 is here. What's going this way? 13, 14, 11, and 10. All right, what kind of circle? Open. Which direction? Left. All right, so I have -7, -7. So that's y is greater than or equal to what? 19. All right, so I have 19, 20, 21, 18, 17. Okay. Close circle. It's going right. Okay, what do I do here? +2, +2. So C is less than or equal to 13. So I have 13, 14, 15,
Ok,
12, 11. What kind of circle? Closed. Which direction? Left. Feeling okay?
I've got a question. What's the difference in between an open circle and a closed circle?
So this means that for this inequality to be true, my number could be 13. So 13 could be an answer, or anything less than 13 could be an answer. If it was an open circle, that's meaning 13 cannot be an answer. It would have to be anything less than 13. Okay, so that closed circle means this number could be a possible solution. An open circle is telling you this one cannot be a possible solution. Okay, we're about to do a word problem, and maybe that'll make more sense in just a second, okay? All right. What is that doing? Multiplying. So the opposite of, it's dividing. So divide by 4, divide by 4. So I have P is greater than or equal to, what's 24 divided by 4? Okay, so I divided, but I didn't flip my sign. Why did I not flip my sign? Because I didn't divide by a negative. All right. So I have 6, 7, 8, 5, and 4. All right. What kind of circle? Closed. Which direction?
So you only flip your sign if it's a negative?
If you divide by negative. That's why right here we wrote when dividing by a negative. That is the only time that I have to flip it. Unless I'm trying to make it to where I can read it the correct way. Okay? All right. What do I do to solve that one? Minus 3. What's 18 minus 3? 15. So y is greater than or equal to 15. It's kind of a pain. Somebody like broke it. So 15, 16, 17, 14, 13. What kind of circle? Closed. Which direction? Right. Good. Yes.
For your right ear.
Are you sure? Connor. Sure. Are you sure? Okay. All right. Rogan is burning a music CD. The CD holds at most 70 minutes of music. Okay. Right there is very important. At most 70 minutes. Somebody asked me that last class period, but they actually knew. They were just being funny. I know. Okay, so before iPods or anything, or now phones, all right, it would be called burning a CD is when you would transfer music to a CD. That would be creating your own CD. Oh, how we have fallen. No, it wasn't Bristol, it was Maddie, but she knew what it meant. All right. So I wanted a new CD to listen to in my car, and I didn't want to go buy it. I burned one. That's just what it was called in the process of transferring the music to a CD. No, I don't know. I agree. It's silly. Why? I know. But, the things.
It's like making a mixtape.
Oh, the things.
You guys don't know about that. Not even Miss Carly knows that.
Yes, I do.
She heard about it.
I was that in-between era. All right. So burning a music CD holds at most. All right. If it says at most 70 minutes, could it hold 70 minutes? Yes. So what sign would I use? Okay. Well, it'd be less than or equal to because it couldn't hold more than 70 minutes, right? Okay. So at most 70 minutes. So if it said the CD has to hold less than 70 minutes, could it hold 70? No. It would have to be less than 70. When it says at most, that's meaning it can include 70 in with it, okay? All right, so it says he already selected 45 minutes of music. So he already has used 45 minutes of the 70 minutes. Write and solve an inequality to determine how many more. Well, if I'm saying how many more, we add, all right, to determine how much he can select. So it would be 45 plus however many minutes to get me less than or equal to 70 minutes. All right, so I have to minus. All right, but right here it says write and solve. So here was my first part of my answer. So I have to solve it. So 70 minus 45 gives me what? 25. So x is less than or equal to 25. That means he can only do 25 or less minutes before it runs out of space. That makes sense? You think that's the word problems are the ones that are going to have to be kind of careful on? Yeah, you got to really think about it. Vance wants to have pictures framed. Each frame and mat cost $32. This is a big word right here, which tells us what operation we are using. What does each tell us? Multiply. Good. Okay. But we have to write it first. Okay. So it costs $32. He has at most. Well, we just had at most. What was our symbol? Less than or equal to. So I have at most 150. So what am I writing on that side that's missing?
32.
32 what?
Dollars.
No.
Frames.
No. No.
Frames.
No.
X.
Aha. Why X, Hartley? That represents what?
A number.
Yes. And if they're together without a symbol, what operation does that mean?
Dividing.
Multiplying. Dividing to solve. Yes.
The X means the number of frames.
Yes, that's what it's representing. All right, so how do I solve that? Divide. So here's my first part of my answer. So I have 150 divided by 32. This is not a nice division problem. It's going to keep going, but since we're dealing with money, we can round it, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so 32, you said it can go in how many times, Xavier? It can go in 4.
All
right. So 32 times 4 gives me
128.
128.
Hey, I said 40, but.
I know. I thought you meant to say 4, but you were just getting lucky. All right, so I have 2 and 2. Bring the 0 down. Okay, I couldn't add a 0 until I added my decimal, correct? Okay, so I know that my number is going to have to be greater than 4, right? Okay, let's try 6. So 32 times 6. Well, 6 times 2 is 12, 18, 19. All right,
One more.
you think one more? Okay, 14, this is 21, plus my 1 is 22.
Oh.
Barely too big. All right, so here's 6. So 192. What does that leave me with? What's 11 minus 9? 2. Oh, 8. Okay, then what? Another 0. Okay, so we know 7 gave us that. So let's see what we would add one more with. 256. If I added 32 more, it would be too big.
I did that in my head.
How would it be too big?
Oh, wait.
It would be just barely enough again. All right. So I do 256. And we are left with 24. Okay, it's going to keep going. So if it's money, we're just going to leave it at that. So 468. So X has to be less than or equal to 468. Very. Okay, not terrible, but not the best. Okay, it's one of those that isn't extremely difficult,
It's not hard.
but what do we have to make sure?